Hey guys, this is Pooka, and welcome to another edition of Bad Deck Monday, where we take some wacky concepts, try to have some fun, and maybe win a game as well. Today we're going to be looking at kind of a strange concept that's been around for a while, but it's not very competitive, but it is kind of fun, so we're going to take a look at a deck revolving around Zapdos EX, Deoxys EX, and Victini. Alright, bear with me here. So, the attacker for this deck is going to be Zapdos EX. We're basically going to be using its attack agility. It does 30 damage, and then you flip a coin. If heads, you prevent all effects of attacks, including damage, done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. Agility is an attack that's been around since base set. It's not something new. It's flip a coin. If heads, you don't get hurt next turn, basically. But we do have some Pokemon to kind of make this attack even better. Of course, flipping a coin isn't a very reliable strategy, and it's only going to work half the time. But we do have Victini's Victory Star that allows us to re-flip that coin. So now we get 2 shots at flipping heads every time. That makes it a 75% chance instead of a 50% chance. So now agility has even better odds of being successful and Zapdos surviving. So Victini is our first partner. And our second partner is Deoxys EX, which has Power Connect. This allows our Team Plasma Pokemon's attacks to do 10 more damage, which means now Agility is doing more damage, and it has higher odds of being successful. So with these two partners, Zapdos can become a pretty solid Pokemon. If you have like 3 Deoxys EX on the bench, Agility is doing 60, and then you can reflip for Victory Star, and it just becomes a very annoying Pokemon that does a steady amount of damage. 60 is enough to probably 3-hit knockout pretty much everything, and if it's not able to be attacked, it's pretty strong. So, Agility with Power Connect and Victory Star, that's going to be the idea here. Now, we do also have 4 Muscle Band that will add 20 damage to the Agility, so this makes it even stronger. If we have 4 Deoxys EX on the bench and then a Muscle Band, now we're doing 90 damage with Agility, which means we can knock out Pokemon EX in 2 hits while also having a shot of not being hurt at all. So it's a rather complicated process, but it's also still unreliable. So it's not a great deck. There's plenty of things that go through this. There's Pokemon Catcher to get around the Agility, Escape Rope to force Zapdos out of the active spot, things like Shred, and I think Latias EX's attack would go through the agility effect, and the big one is G Booster from Genesect EX. These all go through agility anyway, and Cobalion EX's Steel Bullet is another one. There's a long list of things that go through agility, but hey, if they don't have a way to get around it, and you flip heads, Zapdos is unstoppable. Now, the biggest, most popular way that people would deal with agility is Genesect EX's G Booster. So, to cope with that, we're running Heatran EX. He has the attack Heat Boiler. This is not a very good Pokemon at all, but it is a fire type. It does 60 for 3. This effect won't even really come up. If it's affected by a special condition, it does 60 more damage. We don't really want to worry about that. But basically, with a Deoxys EX in play, plus a Muscle Band, or just 3 Deoxys in play, Heat Boiler is doing 90 times 2. That knocks out a Genesect EX, or a Virizion EX. And then in weird spots, we could use Dynamite Press. 80 plus 10 for each damage counter on the defending Pokemon, if we have a Plasma Energy attached. So, Heatran, its only purpose is to beat Genesect EX. And it actually does a pretty decent job at that, so go Heatran. Now, everything in here is pretty much an EX, so we do need a non-EX attacker to deal with Safeguard Pokemon, and that's going to be Absol. We have Mind Jack, does 20 plus 20 for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. With Deoxys EX and Muscle Band, this adds up very quickly, and we can deal with those Safeguard Pokemon pretty easily. So those are the Pokemon for the deck. The trainers are going to be very simple. We have the 4 Muscle Band already. We have 4 Team Plasma Ball to search out our Plasma Pokemon very quickly. 4 Chorus Machine, search for a Plasma Energy card and attach it to one of your Team Plasma Pokemon. This is just good energy acceleration if you notice. all of these Team Plasma Pokemon require one colorless energy in their cost, and then, a regular colored type. So we can just fulfill the colorless type with Colress Machine, and then attach the correct type for the turn, and then we can attack right away. What else do we have? We have our supporter cards. We have 4 Professor Juniper, 4 N, 3 Colress, and 3 Skyla. Nothing too fancy there, just lots of good supporters. We have 3 Switch, just to make sure we get the right Pokemon into the active spot and to get out of special conditions. 1 Ultra Ball, discard 2 cards and search for a Pokemon. Just an extra way to search for Pokemon. 1 Level Ball, just a quick way to search for that Victini. We have 1 Professor's Letter to search for basic energy. We do run 3 Lightning in this deck for Zapdos, and then 1 Fire, just in case we need to get Heatran up and running. You also have 4 Prism Energy, since it counts as any type. And then 4 Plasma Energy, since we can Colress Machine and accelerate the energy. We do have Dowsing Machine for the A-Spec card, discard 2 cards, and then get a Trainer card back. Just a very useful card. And 2 Tool Scrapper, since lots of things can hurt us, Silver Mirror being one of them, and Garbodor being the other. Shutting off the abilities for this deck is devastating, so we want to have a decent number of Tool Scrapper in this deck. And then we also have 2 Frozen City. This is a very nice card in this deck because a lot of the time Agility just doesn't do enough damage for a 2-hit knockout. We're probably not going to have 4 Deoxys EX in the bench very often, so we'll probably end up doing 80 damage with Agility, which isn't enough to knock out a Pokemon EX. But if they attach if they attach while the Frozen City's in play, they take 2 damage counters, and all of a sudden it's 80 damage twice from Agility, and then 20 from Frozen City, and voila, you have 180 damage, which is knocking out pretty much every Pokemon EX in the format. Alright, so that's the deck. Very simple, just going to Agility a lot and hope to survive. In a nutshell, that is what this deck is trying to do. So let's go ahead and take a look at a game with Zapdos in action. I gotta say, I don't think I've seen Zapdos in competitive play at all. It's not a great Pokemon, but let's see if we can make it work. My opponent mulligans and shows a handful of dark stuff, along with a Shadow Circle. Shadow Circle is going to concern me, since it does take away weakness on Yveltal EX, so it's going to be annoying to try to knock that out, but we'll see what happens. We do see a regular Yveltal, an Yveltal EX, and a Darkrai EX on the bench, so clearly this is a dark deck. But we'll have to see what my opponent does here on the first turn. My hand is very strong. I have a Lightning Energy along with a Colress Machine, and I don't actually mind going second here, since this means I can turn 1 Agility and put on the pressure right away. Yveltal is weak to Lightning, so is Yveltal EX. We do see an Ultra Ball for Keldeo EX. It's kind of strange. Let's see. We see the DCE go on to the Yveltal EX, and my opponent only has 2 cards. I'm assuming the other one's like a Juniper or not. Okay, so he just doesn't have much to work with apparently. Alright, so now I'm going to Team Plasma Ball for the Deoxys EX. Get that right into play. And then we can Colress Machine on to the Zapdos. We got all 4 Plasma Energy in there. Go right to the Zapdos EX. Attach. I could play an N, but my opponent only has 2 cards. Could play a Colress, but I'd only be drawing 3. So I'm just going to hold on to my hand and Agility. Put on some pressure. Got a Tails, but we're doing 80 damage to that Yveltal. And I'm not feeling so bad. Looks like my opponent top decks a Roller Skates and gets Heads. What? Oh man, now he's got 3 extra cards to work with and a random receiver. It's going to get a Professor Sycamore. So, alright, my not playing M there backfired a little bit, but hey, you don't know what your opponent's going to top deck. He didn't have any. He only had 2 cards, and one of them was a Keldeo EX, so I was willing to just take the risk. Sometimes it does blow up in your face when you kind of play it safe and don't play an N there, but I think that's the right thing to do. So we do see the Sycamore and a Pokemon catcher. That's a Tails. There's a Muscle Band on the active Yveltal. And then another Pokemon catcher and another Tails. So this is kind of fortunate for me. I'm not sure what exactly that catcher would have accomplished, though. Maybe try to stall for a turn. We do have plenty of switching cards in this deck, though, so not too worried about it. Alright, so I got Victini on the board. I'm going to attach a Prism to Deoxys EX, since it can be a decent attacker against Yveltal EX. And we got a decent hand, no supporter for next turn, which is kind of a bummer, but everything else is good. Get a couple more Deoxys EX into play. Go ahead and put all those down, and I could put out Frozen City. I'm just worried because of that Shadow Circle. I would really like to be able to get a counter on that Shadow Circle when it comes out, but we'll go ahead and put down the Frozen City. And Agility, got Tails. I would definitely like to reflip. Got Tails again. Can I reflip again? No, just twice? Okay. Alright, well, that's alright. I don't think I'm in any immediate danger this turn. It would take quite a bit for my opponent to knock out this Zapdos EX. With an Yveltal EX, I only have 2 energy on Zapdos. And the Shadow Circle makes me think that there may not even be Hypnotoxic Laser in this kind of a deck, which is kind of comforting. It makes it very difficult for Yveltal EX to get knockouts as often, on things that only have 2 energy. How much energy would it take between Zapdos and Yveltal EX? I mean, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It'd take 8 total energy, or 7 with a Muscle Band or a Dark Claw. So it's pretty far away. There's only 5 total right now. Actually, double Colorless and a Muscle Band would be a knockout. So that actually would be pretty painful. That's actually a lot easier than I thought to get a knockout. Yveltal EX is pretty good. But if that does happen, I have the Deoxys sitting. I can just attach the Plasma Energy and then Helix Force for the response knockout. So I'm not too worried about things. My biggest concern is my lack of options in my hand. Only have a couple energy to work with, so that's not particularly good. We will have to see what my opponent does. He did also attach for the turn to Keldeo EX, so never mind. I don't know what I was scared of. Scared of nothing. Alright. So here I can Muscle Band and Agility and just do 80. But it doesn't seem like that's going to do much of anything. I'd rather just hold on to it and go for the Agility. Got a Heads. And I'm going to be immune next turn. Alright. So Zapdos is invincible. I do have Muscle Band. Just kind of holding on to it because of Tool Scrapper. Like I said, there's no point in actually getting the extra 20 damage on there. It's 10 short of a knockout. And I don't have anything that hits the bench in this deck, which I realized was a major flaw. Since things can just kind of retreat to the bench, and I'll never be able to knock them out. I really should have added like a Genesect EX to this deck, but hey, it's Bad Deck Monday. We're meant to have flaws. Just, I probably should have thought that one through a little bit more. Anyway, we do see a DCE go on to the bench. Yveltal EX. And looks like the active one's coming out, but we do see the Shadow Circle. So that explains that. He'll probably move the DCE off with Y Cyclone, keeping the Darkness Energy on the active. So that Shadow Circle is still going on. And let's see what I can do right here. If I had attached that Muscle Band, maybe I could have done something big here. But I didn't. So now we're going to have to try to figure out something else to do here. I'm going to probably just Juniper this turn. There's not really a specific card I want to Skyla for. I don't really need to do the Frozen City this turn, since an Agility wouldn't be a knockout anyway. So we'll just Chorus Machine on to the Deoxys EX. And go for the Juniper, I suppose. There's nowhere I even want to attach my energy. But I will Muscle Band, I think, onto Zapdos. Just to do 80, and then later on, if I don't get the Frozen City, I might be able to get a 4th Deoxys out, and Agility for 90 to finish it off. I don't know. This deck just doesn't do enough damage, man. I'm going to go for the Agility, though. Got Tails on the first one, and Heads with Victory Star reflipping, and that means Zapdos is immune once again. And against this kind of a deck, I think that's actually very powerful. They don't have things like G-Booster or anything else to go through. All they would really have is like escape rope and catcher, and those are limited resources. So, I mean, they can only do that a few times, and then Zapdos can take it the rest of the way, I suppose. We do see an energy go on to Absol, and then a muscle band go in the active. I'm not sure why my opponent is promoting this Eviltal EX right here. This seems like it's going to backfire big time. There's already 20 damage on that Eviltal EX. There's no darkness energy on it. So Shadow Circle won't be activated. It's very confusing, actually. Maybe he just assumes there's a dark energy on there, and, I mean, Shadow Circle will just activate. But no, you do need a darkness energy attached to your Pokemon for Shadow Circle to take away your weakness. So this is actually a pretty bad spot for my opponent. I can agility for 160 thanks to the weakness in the 3 Deoxys. And now we see a dowsing machine. Not sure what that's going to go for. It could go for energy switch if he's played one. I can't remember. To get a darkness energy in the active. But no, looks like it's going for a catcher. This probably means he does have an energy switch to attack and take away the weakness. Going right after the Victini. Doesn't like my flips. And there's the dark patch. Where's that going to go? On to Darkrai. That's actually a very good strategy. If you can't attack my active, he can hit Victini on the bench twice with Night Spear to try to knock that out. And there is the energy switch. Oh. But it actually goes to Darkrai? That's confusing. Alright, I'm not really sure what's going on there. That may have been a misclick or something, but okay. I'll take it. So now we just get a free knockout on this Eviltal EX. That was very puzzling. I don't know quite what to say about that turn. It was just very, very confusing. So I am going to Skyla here. Could grab a switch to get Victini out of the active, or I don't really have a supporter, so I might take a Colress. Seems pretty good. Yeah, we'll do that. We can get like 10 cards next turn. That'll be pretty sweet. I'll just attach to the Victini and retreat right into the Zapdos. And okay, we can agility for 30 plus 30 plus 20 times 2. That means 160 damage. And that is beautiful. I'll attach another muscle band. And there's the agility, 160. Got tails, but we get one more chance to reflip. And alrighty, we got a heads. Zapdos lives on. And we just need to take 4 more prizes here. So here comes Absol. Absol would probably be pretty solid against this deck, since I do have such a full bench all the time. I can't knock it out in one hit with agility, so it's just not going to be that great. For me, 1 prize attackers tend to be worse than the EXs, since agility doesn't really knock out any 1 prize attackers in one hit, whereas agility potentially could knock out EXs in 1 or 2 hits, depending on weakness and their HP, and how many Deoxys I have in play. Anyway, Absol's up here, and we see, I was going to look at Power Volt here, and Power Volt does 120 if I have a Plasma Energy attached. Looks like my opponent may have forgotten about agility there and used Mind Jack for a whole 0 damage, thanks to the mighty power of agility. And let's see. What am I going to do here? I really don't need to do anything, right? I'm pretty content with my position here. I'm just going to agility for 80, and then got tails. We can flip again, though, and alright, heads again. Victini saving the day. Once again, doing 80 to that Absol. My opponent has a lot of damage on board. 80 on Absol, like a 140 on Keldeo, 80 on an Eviltal, 80 on the Eviltal EX. This is looking pretty good right now for good old Zapdos. I gotta say, this is probably one of the best matchups for Zapdos. You get weakness and you don't get to get hurt thanks to agility. But my opponent has now shifted gears into the Night Spear, hitting Victini for 30 damage on the bench. Pretty annoying, but hey, what you gonna do? My Professor's Letter is in the discard already, so I was going to play Skyla for that, but it's gone already, so I can't really search for any energy. And again, I don't really need much of anything. I'm kind of content holding on to the stuff I have. So we're going to go for another agility, and got heads on the first try this time. No reflip this time, no. And we'll just hit for 80 and be immune to damage once again. Okay. So here is the Night Spear, knocking out the Victini. My opponent gets his first prize, so good on him. And here I got a decision to make. I can either continue with agility, or I can just go for the Power Volt and try to close this game out a little sooner. And I think we're going to go for it. Power Volt time, baby. Let's try to play out some cards here. And then Chorus for 9. Got the Prism. It's just what I needed. And we're going to veer away from our strategy a little bit and just notice that my opponent has gone through quite a few resources here. And we'll just be happy to Power Volt for the knockout. And it's just a matter of time now. All those Pokemon are so heavily damaged. And if my opponent attacks me with an Yveltal EX, I could pretty easily knock it out with another Zapdos. Assuming I can get that 4th Deoxys into play, I do have the Frozen City to get rid of Shadow Circle now. So this is looking pretty good for Zapdos. Kind of funny what happens when your opponent can't attack you. We do see Dark Patch going on to the benched Yveltal EX. And let's see, I do get pretty much perfect cards there. Team Plasma Ball for a Deoxys, and then an Energy for a Zapdos. But it looks like we're just going to see a Mind Jack instead. Alright. And I'm just going to go ahead, attach to the bench Zapdos and Agility for 80. Got the heads again, so that's going to survive once again. Oh, looks like 4th Deoxys was prized. Whoops. And from here, I mean, this is just academic at this point. Zapdos with agility has worn down my opponent. Little by little, agility by agility, has just been able to take this game down. Looks like my opponent just gave up and tried to Evil Ball and just said, I'm fed up with this, so I'm going to Power Volt for the win. 170 damage. Take that, Yveltal EX. It's Zapdos' turn to fly. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Apparently I was an underdog in that game too, so we got an upset with Zapdos. Alright. Dealt a lot of damage too. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will certainly have some more for you soon. I am Pooka from the Top Cut, and I will see you guys next time.